Good evening, folks. How's everyone doing? You seen the title? I'm not doing great. Didn't sleep well last night. Been doom scrolling a lot, and I decided I wanted to talk about it. I wanted to come on stream. I wanted to record a video because every now and then, when stuff like this happens, it deeply, deeply upsets me. It's really easy to get desensitized to stuff. The first time I ever got really, really upset about something even remotely comparable was, to put in perspective how desensitized we've come, was the first time I'd ever seen footage of someone being killed. For those who are around my age and older, you'll probably remember the first time that you saw that. Not like news footage of a natural disaster like an earthquake. But for me, it was a guy called Eric Garner. Eric Garner was the I Can't Breathe guy. He's a black man in America. I can't remember what he was doing wrong selling. He was selling something he shouldn't be. Not like heroin, but like bottles of water or cigarettes or something, but he didn't have a permit for it. And the police choked him and he said, "I can't breathe," and they didn't let go. And that footage was everywhere. And around that time, there had been a few things floating around Facebook and stuff of the police killing unarmed black people. But I hadn't seen them. I don't want to. Why would I want to see that? And I was sitting in an airport and the news was on, and that's when I saw the Eric Garner thing, which I had avoided until that point, and then I saw it. And it was horrific, and I'll never forget it. Some of my younger friends, this might seem bizarre because you've probably always grown up seeing horrific stuff like that, and it's so easy to become desensitized because of that. But we shouldn't. People shouldn't get murdered. Like, most people agree with that. And every now and then, like with the George Floyd thing, every now and then something happens that reminds you how important it is to speak up. For those who might not know, I'm sure everyone does. The UK, I say the UK, England, and I believe Ireland have had some really horrible riots going on lately. It started, we can get into how it started, but if we're going along the story, what these monsters and morons, what they're claiming is that they are protesting because 3 little girls got killed by a young black boy who was born in the UK, and his parents are from Rwanda. So he's British born and Christian, but we'll come back to that. Because right-wing agitators and grifters, which anyone who's been in this stream before or talked to me personally will know, is something I rant about a lot. Your Ben Shapiro's, your Jordan Petersons, all these kind of people, that I don't think they believe in most of the things they say. Look at someone like Piers Morgan as a great example of that, as someone who was a right-wing agitator for a long time and now sort of hops on either side of the fence depending on what he's wanting to do, because he's articulate and he's engaging and he can make a lot of money doing that. But he's flip-flopped on loads of stuff because he doesn't actually believe any of it, because that's not the point. Your Daily Wire people, like, don't get me wrong, the people that follow these people, a lot of them do believe it. A lot of them do have, sexist, racist, homophobic, anti, Islam, all these horrible things. A lot of people do believe that. But the people that are pushing this stuff, they don't. It's a grift. But there's money to be made. Jordan Peterson's another great example that I know a lot about because I used to defend Jordan Peterson quite a lot. Not because I agreed with him on pretty much anything, but because I felt bad for him. I felt like he was someone that got pushed to the forefront of right-wing talking points that he wasn't qualified in, nor did he super care about it, but he got put into these positions and people loved it when he would go on and destroy a woke feminist. And as a result, realized that, hey, I can make a lot of money sponging off of Joe Rogan's audience. I like to believe that he was a moral person who had some views that I found really distasteful, to put it mildly, but then felt cornered into a position where his only means of making a living was to appeal to the lowest common denominator kind of thing. And so he stopped talking as much about caring about men's mental health, which was a really good thing he used to do a lot of. That was his main shtick before, he started with the anti-trans stuff. And again, for those who don't know, when he started the anti-trans stuff, it wasn't about hatred of trans people. And he said many times that, oh, if someone asked me to call them by their preferred pronoun, I would. That's common decency. His argument initially was just that the government shouldn't make it a law. They shouldn't say you must do this. It should be about freedom and people should be free to do the right thing. But as if you've heard anything he's said or seen any of his tweets in the last 5-6 years, you'll have seen that nugget of who he was before he was famous has completely gone. So these people do this. And again, if all of this is news to you or you're curious about your favorite alt-right grifter, go look them up. There's a lot of information. Tucker Carlson, even, like all these people, grifters, they're liars. And most of the time when I've talked about them before, it's been because to laugh at them, to maybe counter some of their things. I've done a few videos where, we watch some of them and poke fun because, again, their arguments aren't actually good if you know how arguments work. You're people like Steven Crowder with his, I hate women, change my mind, whatever his argument is, and change my mind. And he goes incredibly well prepared with a full TV crew to talk to college students who are trying to improv against him. And he still ends up losing half those debates. But the point is that the techniques they use are dishonest. It's all about getting the viral clip so you can say someone's owned or destroyed because it makes money. That's all it's about. I really want to believe that it's not for evil. I really find it hard to believe that it's genuinely their thoughts because a lot of these guys, it's not all guys, but it's a lot of guys, a lot of them are quite intelligent and informed. And I find it very, very improbable that they haven't seen the jumps in logic they make and the gaps in their arguments. So I think instead it's a performance, right? It's also why it's difficult to be in the position I'm in right now, because I want to believe that a lot of these people that are going on these riots, protests, I want to believe that a lot of them can be reached. I don't believe anyone's born racist, but we are all born stupid. And I think there's a really good argument to be made that this is not only a direct result of right-wing grifters, but also of a complete neglect of the working class and the education system. That people can get to the point where they believe these things because they saw Tommy Robinson say it on Twitter. That's a failing. And once they get to the position where they believe that, it's very, very difficult to change someone's mind. And it's even harder if you patronize them and call them a moron, again, because a lot of them aren't very good at arguing. We're going to watch a little thing in a second of a clip I saw earlier of a guy phoning into a radio show And he sounds so stupid because his position and his beliefs are stupid. But it's very difficult to argue with that. It's very difficult to get your point across when someone believes so wholeheartedly that they're right, even when it's nonsense. But I'm really angry at the grifters. Like I say, I used to watch them. I used to sort of laugh it off to an extent. But there's consequences to this stuff, and we're seeing that now, right? I believe that a lot of them did it for money. Your Tommy Robinsons, your Tates, Jordan Peterson, Ben Shapiro, the whole Daily Wire lot, all these people, they're grifters, they did it for money. I think it's immoral that they don't care about the stuff they're peddling. They're anti-trans, they're misogyny, all this stuff. I think it's immoral that they are willing to push these ideologies simply for profit. But I choose to at least entertain the idea that they are ignorant to the effects it can have. I believe that a lot of people who rant about trans women in sports, if you were to ask them dead on, look into their soul, they don't want real trans people being hurt. That's not their intention, right? And that's how this radicalization happens, is someone says something that sounds reasonable when you don't have the information, but attached to the butt of that is all this other stuff, right? So if you say to someone, remember, most people were not as informed on trans issues at all. Not like 5 years ago, 6 years ago. This is really, really recent. And so if you say to someone that's not informed in that, doesn't have any trans friends, that like, do you think it's okay for a male boxer to beat up a woman boxer? I don't think it's unreasonable that a lot of people would say, no, I don't think that's okay. In fact, I think that's the expected response for most people. And I don't think everyone that believes that is therefore evil or bigoted. They're just misinformed. And they don't think about the effects that's going to have because they think about them personally. They're like, well, that doesn't mean I'm going to go and attack trans people. Of course not. But there's consequences to this stuff because there is a lot attached to the butt of it, right? It's not everyone who retweets a twat like J.K. Rowling saying they've got a point hates every trans person. Okay, I'll say that again. Not everyone who retweets and supports a singular opinion of an awful person is the extreme of that thing, right? Not everyone who retweets Tommy Robinson and Nigel Farage hates all Muslims. But on the other side, everyone who hates all Muslims is retweeting and supporting Nigel Farage. So not everyone that retweets J.K. Rowling hates all trans people, but everyone who hates all trans people is retweeting J.K. Rowling. Do you see what I'm saying? Sometimes you've got to look around at the company you're keeping. At the very least, you've got to be aware of it. And it's very easy for those of us who are on the other side to jump to conclusions and take it to the nth degree with that as well. I think there's a lot of people who have been misinformed and have found themselves on the wrong side of history through ignorance, not through hatred. But there is a reason. And although I don't put the blame solely at their feet, there's a lot of blame to go around. And I put a lot of it at these grifters. Because if they believed that their words were just to make them money off of idiots that want to hate women or hate gays or hate whatever, that builds over time, and we're seeing that now. These things have been being said for a long time. The migrants are coming, they're going to take your job. while also taking all your benefits. The wording used in newspapers, invasion, flood. By the way, I hate the term illegal when referring to fucking people. People aren't illegal. It's even worse in America, and some people over here use it when they say illegal alien. How fucking dehumanizing can you possibly be? I'm so fortunate that I got to be born in the time I did, on the land that I did, around the people that I did, with the skin complexion I did. I didn't choose any of that. I didn't earn any of that. It happened. And the notion that because someone else rolled a different die, that fuck them. People turning up to say that they're protesting a horrific attack is fair enough. That would be fair enough. But it's not that. We all know it's not that. Anyone saying that these are just concerned citizens or patriots is a fucking liar. At the very best, they're hugely misinformed and naive. But that is a very small percentage of people. The vast majority of them are still trying to profit off of anger. They're still trying to profit off of hatred. And the time for plausible deniability of acting like they didn't know that it could lead to this, that's over. That's done. We've seen gangs of these fucking fascists not going on a protest march, but deliberately attacking places of worship, mosques, which again, the killer that they're supposedly protesting against was a Christian child. They were attacking hotels that were housing asylum seekers. People that have fled war zones, that have risked everything. Again, it's so, because we dehumanize them all the time in the media, because it's so alienating to us, it's so easy to forget to how to put yourself in that position of coming from a place where you're willing to risk everything. You're willing to cross the fucking sea in a shanty boat with your children because that risk is worth it, because where you are, there is no hope. Only to make it through that. And then these people come, they don't just stand outside the hotel shouting, doing death threats, saying awful things, not even just throwing stones at windows. They're setting fire to these hotels and then blocking the fire exits with flaming bins. That's not protest. That's attempted murder of innocent people, of people who did not do this, who have nothing to do with it. These are not people, these are not concerned citizens. These are people who have been radicalized. And again, it's not entirely their fault. They've been told for years that people are coming for their livelihood, that Sharia law is going to take over, that Islam's going to take over, that immigrants are going to take over. They've been told for years lies that they need to take back their country. And if that's all you see, that's all you ever see in your Facebook groups, within your friends' WhatsApp chats, of course some of them believe it. So I'm not shocked at the response from some people. I think the thing that upset me most was realizing that these grifters won't then stop. Because in my head, if you've got the gall to try and profit off of division and stuff, like I said, maybe you've got that plausible deniability. Like, look, like say, Tate, Andrew Tate said all this horrible sexist, misogynist stuff. And then when attacks on women suddenly are on the uprise, it'd be like, whoa, I didn't tell anyone to do that. That's plausible deniability. When you look at the vast numbers of these white English guys that truly believe. Now, don't get me wrong, they don't believe they're protesting what they're claiming they're protesting. No one does. The grifters pushing it, the twatty politicians like Farage and stuff, but also the people on these marches. None of them believe they're there to honor the lives of the three little girls whose names they've never fucking mentioned. That's why they're hitting mosques and not churches, right? This has got nothing to do with that, and they know that. But they believe they're in the right anyway. They believe that this was the spark to lead to change that they think is necessary, that they've been convinced is necessary. They believe that these horrible events that happen only happen because of immigrants. They believe that. It's insane and laughably, provably false. But they believe it. Was it just the end of last year? A young kid got killed by a grown man with a sword. But no one remembers because the grown man was white and the kid was black. There was no protests in the streets. There was no uproar. Certainly not by this crowd. It's not about protecting the children. The only thing they think they're protecting children from is multiculturalism. It's a horrendous grift that we are now seeing the real consequences of. It's no longer hypothetical. And the fact that we have seen these horrible scenes play out and people will still try and profit off of it. That's when you remove the plausible deniability and you're just a fucking monster. You're a disgusting, abhorrent person. If you can even remotely entertain the idea of trying to clickbait and rile people up. I think it's pretty apparent what can happen. And again, it fills me full of fear because this is the same thing I've been saying about the anti-trans stuff and things for a long time. These people that get lied to and told that drag queens are coming for their kids. And they all believed it. They bought it. And now no one talks about it anymore because there was never any truth behind it. It was never a real fucking issue. Nothing changed. They just stopped talking about it because they moved on to the other thing, which is DEI for this election, by the way, in case you wanted to know what the current right-wing grift trend buzzword is. But there's real lasting consequences to that grift. There's real people that get hurt when you say that a cisgender woman has too much testosterone and therefore isn't allowed to box other women. Even though she's been beaten in boxing before, it's people that don't know about gender and also don't know anything about fucking sports. But a lot of them who retweet and share and tell their friends, they believe it because they think they're doing the right thing. But the original posts, the people who spread this shit, the things that go viral, these big bot accounts on Twitter and stuff like that, they're doing it purely for engagement and money. And so neither the people that originally do it or the people that reshare are doing it directly to hurt someone. They're not. I don't believe they are. Like, say, few exceptions of the most extreme people, but the people who retweet anti-Islam, anti-trans, this stuff, they believe that their position is right because they've been lied to over and over again by these people in positions of power, these grifters that are only doing it for money. Neither of them are coming at it from a position of hatred, and yet there's real lasting results. Because attached onto that becomes, well, you know, no trans people should be allowed in sport. Maybe trans people shouldn't be allowed to use the bathroom they want. Maybe trans people shouldn't be allowed to work in schools and stuff. We start getting these same arguments that we got about homosexuality in the 90s, which again, a lot of you will be too young to know about, but it's the same hymn book they're singing from. You can't have a gay man working in a school. That was a real opinion held by a lot of people. It would be in the news. And again, it would be the same thing if there ever was a scandal with a gay teacher. That would be everywhere. Was it even close to the majority of scandals? No, of course not. But it's what sold papers back in the day. Hey, you gotta sell these papers, Carly. It's the same bullshit. But because of the internet, because of the anonymity, because of the huge sweeping scale of it, because of how quickly a lie can go around the world, it's gotten so much worse. And like I say, the people who are doing it, who are spreading this bullshit, are spreading it for clicks, for outrage and for attention and for fucking money. That's disgusting enough as it is, but they're not doing it through hatred, they're doing it through money. And the people that are sharing it are doing it because they've been lied to and they believe that they're on the right side of things. And it doesn't matter. This is why people go, oh, it's all about the intention. No, it's not. No, it's not. If I call you a cunt bucket and you say that offends me, the fact that I said it in jest doesn't fucking matter. My intentions are relevant. I still upset you. Now, what am I going to do about it? First thing is, what are you going to do about it? Oh, it turns out you told me. You told me that I upset you. So now what am I going to do about it? Am I going to just turn around and say, you're wrong, fuck you? I'm allowed to. Makes me a bit of a shitty person, in my opinion. It's horrendous that we've gotten to this point, but it's not a mystery. This is the first time in my entire life that I've noticed social norms becoming more right-wing and less progressive. My entire life, we've gotten less sexist, less homophobic, less racist, less hateful towards the poor, more compassionate. My entire life. Now, are we where we need to be with these things? Hell no. But I've seen it get better consistently, year after year, my whole life. Until with the Andrew Tate stuff, I started seeing young boys being more sexist. Hadn't seen that before, kind of scared me. Talked about it on stream. And now we're seeing more blatant, open, disgusting racism. And it needs to be fought. I don't mean go and take a brick and get yourself in trouble. I mean, we need to talk about it. We need to call it out if we see it, if we hear it. We need to make sure people are informed because every single one of us is going to have friends or family that quietly are believing these things. Right? It doesn't mean they're going out and trying to cause trouble. It doesn't mean they're taking a flaming torch to minorities, but they're sitting there, they've heard these things and thought, oh, that makes sense. Not the most extreme stuff, just a little thing. And then they build up. And these lies build up to the point where they believe, oh, but you know what? Migrants are coming in and they're getting to stay in 5-star hotels and they're getting free cars and free houses. And if you believe every single one of them, and in the end they go, well, maybe that's not okay. Are they foolish for not looking into it more? Yeah, absolutely. But not everyone has that around them. A lot of people live in a fucking bubble. So it's important that we talk openly about how ludicrous this stuff is, because they're already getting stuff in their ear from the other side. Just a lot of people are too afraid to talk about it. See, I need money, but I also have morals. And that's what annoys me the most is I'd be a real good grifter. I'd be really good at it. Like I say, this point that we've reached where there's no plausible deniability is kind of like my opinion on psychics. I think that there's some people out there who genuinely believe they can converse with the dead. And I have a lot more tolerance for those people than I do for the ones who are deliberately lying and ripping people off. Right? Because at that point, you are choosing money over morality, over humanity, over compassion. I'm very forgiving of ignorance. I'm very forgiving of ignorance. We're all ignorant about a lot of stuff. All of us are. You can't know everything. That's why it's important to meet people of different backgrounds, which these fucking morons want to end. But it gives you an insight into things that you otherwise wouldn't know. It's so important to become less ignorant every opportunity you get. But we're all ignorant about something, so I'm forgiving of it. I'm patient with it. I'm not impatient. I'm not tolerant at all with completely deliberate, immoral, awful actions. It was wild as well seeing goalposts be moved to gender is complicated. The boxer thing, this isn't what this stream's about, so I won't dwell on that too much, although do ask if you've got any questions, because gee whiz. The funniest thing about the boxer thing is seeing all these people who have argued for the last few years that there's only two genders and there's no exceptions, basically completely denying the existence of intersex people, even though there's more intersex people than there are ginger people in the world. They're like, but no, that's such a tiny population, they don't even really exist. And now there's like, we should, like, what do you mean they're cis? Oh, they're cis. Well, but they're not cis enough. And again, the same woman, if she turned around and said, well, guess what, I'm a trans man, those same people would be like, no, you're not. They don't know what they believe. Again, they're so determined to be on the right side, but they don't know what it is because they don't have the information. It's not their fault they're ignorant, but the results and the consequences of that is real harm to vulnerable fucking people. And they don't see that. They don't think about that. Humans are the reason for all suffering, anger, and trouble in the world. That's why I'm so cut off from people these days, because I can't handle it anymore. I do not care anymore. It doesn't matter. I've had it with the drama and the fighting, the rights, the stupidity, the humans. I make my art. I listen to music. I spend time with my pack and no one else, because everyone else wants to do drama llama stuff, and I don't see the point. Gender and sex are two different things. Biology is what it is. The label is your sex. How society sees you and portrays you in society is gender. That's why gender is complicated. Correct. Alex, I understand all that. I understand that frustration. That's why I'm doing this video. But also the things that you like. The art, the music, the friendships, the love. There's a lot of good things that humans do as well. And I refuse to become jaded because of these people. I refuse to simply say they're morons or they're evil because it's too simple. And it also completely sucks the oxygen out of any hope for change. If we just say it is what it is, then it is what it will always be. We need to address the problems, the faucet of toxic sludge that leads to people being in these places, not the fucking primordial ooze creature that crawls out from them. We need to cure the disease, not treat the symptoms. You see what I'm saying? Honest political concerns, those need to be addressed. But right now we're being convinced to aim at each other. It is like I'm very free Palestine, right? But if I saw someone being anti-Semitic, I would absolutely step the fuck in, because that's not the same thing. It's not an us or them. It doesn't have to be that. And you're not alone in your fear. You're not alone in your struggle. And we can prove that to each other and to ourselves. All right. All right. Be a good cunt. Night night. Love you all. Bye bye.